So I have a secret for you. You see this shirt I wear? It's like one of my favorite shirts. It's 35 years old. Literally 35 years old. If you're younger than my shirt, comment down below.
This is Maximus Aviation.
Greetings everybody, Maximus here with yet another embarrassment for Boeing. Or maybe not. However, some of you who have accused me of being a Boeing hater in the past may be surprised that I will actually be mostly defending Boeing but not absolving them in this video. Up to a point anyway. However, after I lay out the story, you can decide for yourself and let me know down below. But in my opinion, at least, concerning this latest dust-up we're about to talk about, this has to do with the role of AI, artificial intelligence, intruding into our everyday lives. But it also has more to do with the post-pandemic 30-something employees who got used to working from home while getting paid to sit on the couch all day eating Cheetos and watching Netflix. But now that it's time to go back to the office, well, let's just say much like toddlers, they're stomping their feet and will need to be dragged back to their office cubicles kicking and screaming. I'm sure you're all familiar with that phrase, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Well, apparently that was a true euphemism in the past, at least until about 2020, when the world and the U.S. in particular lost their collective minds during the pandemic. Because while tragically millions of people indeed succumbed to the dreaded disease, the so-called younger, especially younger members of society who survived unscathed didn't come out of the pandemic stronger at all. Quite the opposite. As a matter of fact, they became much weaker and with less strength and endurance as a result of their fully paid pandemic extended company work-from-home vacations. And let's be honest, it's great work if you can get it, right? But now, literally years after the pandemic has passed and companies began telling employees that it was time to come back to work in the office physically, well, work-from-homers stomped their collective feet, went boneless, falling into a fetal position and said, hell no, we won't go. But what was more astounding was that many companies continued to allow them to work from home even longer. That is, at least until finally in 2023 when major companies demanded that if their employees wanted to keep their jobs, they needed to physically come back to the office. And we're not talking mom and pop shops here either. We're talking Fortune 500 companies such as Amazon, BlackRock, Citigroup, IBM, and even the ultra-woke Disney and Google, just to name a few. And of course, Boeing too was a company that ordered employees back to the office. And that's the subject of today's video. At the beginning of December 2024, Boeing began clandestinely installing workplace occupancy sensors in the main Everett office tower that use motion detectors and cameras mounted in the ceiling tiles above workstations, conference rooms, common areas, and offices. The sensors, which are used by thousands of companies around the world, are intended to gather information that is then analyzed using AI data and fed back to Boeing's real estate and facilities managers with information on such things as how many people are physically coming into the office, using the spaces of the facilities, and how long they stayed or didn't stay at the office. However, for people in general these days, but Boeing employees especially, already concerned about how their internet and cell phones and other technology can be used to track them outside of work, this new form of workplace additional office surveillance proved an unwelcome surprise to unknowing employees despite Boeing's insistence that it doesn't invade anyone's personal privacy. The plan was outlined in a PowerPoint presentation to employees, and one anonymous employee was so offended by the idea that he or she decided to share the PowerPoint presentation with the Seattle Times. The anonymous employee told the Times that, quote, "It scared me to my core," saying what we saw on the PowerPoint is, to say the very least, evil. Well, that sounds a bit dramatic. But the next day after the Seattle Times ran the story, Boeing told employees that they had now put the program on hold and then they canceled it. A decision with which I disagree personally. And I'll tell you why in a little bit, because as it happens, I'm literally an expert on this subject. But like I said, we'll get to that later. However, Boeing said they tried to appease privacy assurance and concerns during the presentation, telling employees that the sensors do not capture any identifiable information, only in aggregated data form anonymously. The PowerPoint presented to Boeing employees said that the quality of these images is so low that personal information cannot be identified and printed documents can't even be read. Okay, you can see how that might be hard to believe. However, though, Boeing is promoting the technology as another tool used for good, nothing nefarious. The presentation claims that it will allow leaders to make informed data-driven decisions to provide a better employee experience. But the word employees weren't convinced. However, with Boeing having sold off its extensive real estate holdings recently in the Puget Sound area, including its commercial plane headquarters at the former site of Long Acres Horse Track, a more obvious reason to gather this data would be to find out whether it needs all of its remaining office space or if it needs to consolidate further. The occupancy surveillance plan was devised by Boeing's Real Estate and Facilities Unit. Additionally, since last year, Boeing began requiring most office personnel to come back to work in person most days, and this technology could show if that indeed is happening, and if there's enough room for everyone to come back. In October 2023, Boeing's head of human relations, Uma Amarlu, informed about 2,000 HR employees who'd been working remotely that they too must return back to the office.
Definitely heard from some of our members that if they are mandated to be full-time in office, they are going to look for other options.
Boeing's presentation said the sensors are intended to be used indefinitely as an ongoing tool to provide real-time data and insight into real property assets. A sample of data produced for a pilot project at Boeing's St. Louis facility in October was included in the PowerPoint. It showed that the buildings where the sensors were installed averaged about 40% occupancy in the midweek days that month, much less than on other days. Data from a specific conference room with a capacity for 10 people showed it was occupied on average only 20% of the time, and only by 2 people. And Boeing said the data was quite revealing. They said a certain office showed peak usage on Mondays and Thursdays with 0 occupancy on Fridays. However, to dispel privacy intrusion fears, Boeing told employees that once the aggregated data is uploaded to the cloud and the images are collected by the cameras, they are destroyed, not stored. Well, except for on the cloud, that is. But Boeing insists no one from the company can access data to collect an image or any other information. Okay, so that's the big so-called Boeing espionage story recently added to the drama that is Boeing. So let's take a quick look at what this system is actually designed to do. The company that manufactures the workplace occupancy sensors is called Aviation. According to their website, Aviation says its Aviation sensor platform prioritizes the user experience and effortlessly collects data on workplace occupancy, headcount, and environmental metrics to inform office design and operations decisions. This cutting-edge wireless device uses machine learning and artificial intelligence, yes, AI, to measure occupancy and determine how many people interact with the space and objects around them. VU AI constantly learns from other deployed sensors, it says. The more data that is gathered, the richer its recognition capability becomes. They say our sensors send real-time data to make understanding your space easier than ever. The VU AI captures occupancy, utilization, temperature, light, noise, humidity levels, and then associates that data to every building, floor, space, type, and amenity across your portfolio. This allows for a high-level overview of how space is performing or a deep dive into the details. Okay, so that's the gist of what the system does, but it's those 2 letters, AI, that scare the hell out of us, and me included. And I frankly agree that AI data gathering can be a scary thing. However, I'm going to defend Boeing right now, for the moment at least, but I'm going to be using the caveat of the word unless, so hold on to that word unless for a minute until later. But as it happens, this story got my attention, especially because for 35 years before I started this channel, I used to be a facility and security manager and consultant. And I hate to break it to you, but if you work in an office building of any size, chances are this technology has already been in place long before the pandemic. As a matter of fact, long before many 30-somethings were even born. For example, most people have to swipe a fob, an ID card, or a phone app to enter and exit their workplace. Well, when I was managing facilities, buildings with hundreds of thousands of square feet and more, all that information came to me in the HR department. Was Joe late for work yesterday? I knew. Did Karen leave early? I knew. I was also facility manager for call centers when they were still in the U.S., but not only in the U.S., I had offices in France, the Philippines, and South America. But the best part was I never needed to travel because I had all the information on my laptop from thousands of employees around the world. And like I said, this was in the early 2000s. And we had more cameras than some casinos, and they were extremely HD. and I could remotely control each camera to read the fine print on an aspirin bottle. We also use cameras and access tracking to catch criminals in the act from beginning to end. One time I tracked an entire office violence lockdown due to an active and ongoing situation, coordinating with the police through the entire event while on my laptop at my kids' elementary school play. All the lights, air conditioning, and life support services were all motion control automated decades ago. So I can only imagine how it has improved drastically over the years. So it's not just Boeing. As I said, practically every major company on Earth already has this technology, and most employees don't even know it, but it goes on every day, everywhere, all over the world. So bringing it back to today. Now, if workers are supposed to be in the office and they log into their laptops from home, but they say they're in the office, companies can see if they were actually physically where they were supposed to be. But singling out Boeing makes no sense because the same employees who are complaining about Boeing's use of technology also every day use their faces to log onto their phones, their phone apps, their bank accounts, and order food, just to name a few. Their information is everywhere. Look no further than the recent CEO shooting in New York. That bushy-eyebrowed Psycho Luigi guy. He was captured quickly due to a vast array of technology. So you get the point. So I think Boeing shouldn't have canceled their so-called surveillance plan because, as I said, so far they've been making all the right moves as they recover from years of failure. And this is a good way to hold employees and management accountable, and every company has the right to install such systems if they want, provided, of course, they inform their employees. Just as employees don't have to work there if they don't want, they're free to leave and find employment elsewhere. However, I think the problem is the way Boeing went about implementing the plan. They should have rolled it out in a more public way ahead of time with an explanation of the benefits of efficiency and that it wasn't, quote, a spy tool. Because, as I said, the tech isn't new and it is very useful. However, in the time of AI, where the fear of humans losing control to our AI overlords, the fear is real. And while Boeing's intentions may have been legitimate by installing technology that has been used around the world for years, given Boeing's history of outright lying about such things as, let's say the MCAS on the Max, for example, Boeing still has a lot to learn about transparency and trust. But hey, that's just my opinion. How about you? I'm fairly certain you Gen Xers and Boomers like me probably feel like I do. But what about some of you younger people? Those of you younger than my shirt. What do you think? I won't know until you let me know down below. And with that, that's all I have for now. So thank you for watching. I hope you like, hope you subscribe, hope you come back. And as always, remember, this is Maximus.